Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell right now, because what we are about to take you through is not the story of a tennis match. There have been no tennis matches yet. There have been no points played, no rankings impacted, no trophies lifted or lost. And yet what has already happened to the Indian Wells Tennis Garden in the first 5 days of Alex EALA's presence in the California desert is so extraordinary, so genuinely unprecedented, that the tournament's own official website felt the need to write about it. Former American professional Christopher Eubanks, who played on the ATP Tour for nearly a decade and is now an analyst on the WTA broadcast team, went on air and said something that stopped every viewer in their tracks. He said he hopes they can get EALA on a big court so that everyone is able to stay safe around the grounds, because the number of fans coming to support her is going to be enormous. Around the grounds. For a practice session at a tennis tournament. Let that sink in for just a moment. And then let us go through every detail of what has already happened in Indian Wells before a single second-round match has been played. Like this video right now, share it with every Filipino fan you know, and let us get into it. Monday morning. Indian Wells Tennis Garden. Practice Court 6. A balmy California desert day with the temperature climbing toward the low 70s under a perfectly clear sky. The BNP Paribas Open does not officially begin its main draw competition until Tuesday. This is a practice day. No ticket required for the practice courts. No ranking points on the line. Players warming up, hitting ground strokes, working through patterns with their coaches, doing the quiet, unglamorous, repetitive work that professional tennis demands before the matches begin. And somehow, impossibly, practice court 6 ran out of room. The BNP Paribas Open's own website described the scene in words that their editorial team clearly struggled to find the right framing for, because nothing in the history of that organization's media coverage had prepared them for this. Fans flocked to the practice court, holding selfie sticks above the crowd to capture footage, angling for a closer look through the fencing of adjacent courts, filling every available seat in the surrounding area as Alex EALA worked through a grueling practice session with Great Britain's Francesca Jones. And then, after that session ended, she held a second one an hour later. And the crowd was still there. And after the second session concluded and she began walking across the players' lawn toward the players' lounge, a large group gathered and chanted her name as she moved through the grounds. The BNP Paribas Open official website published a feature on it within hours. They called her one of tennis's most delightfully unkempt secrets. They described the scene as proof that the EALA effect is real and growing. Tournament organizers were calling it a new reality for the rising talent. Christopher Eubanks, speaking on the WTA broadcast, added the detail that makes this story surreal. He said he witnessed mobs and lines of people trying to reach her side courts when she played in Australia. He said he hopes the tournament gets her on a big court specifically so that everyone is able to stay safe around the grounds, because the fan presence is going to be a large number coming to support. When a broadcast analyst is publicly raising the question of physical safety at a practice session involving a player ranked 31st in the world, you have entered territory that the WTA rulebook genuinely does not have a precedent for. The standard safety and logistics protocols at professional tennis tournaments are calibrated around the big names, the top seeds, the defending champions. They are not calibrated for a 20-year-old from Quezon City who has not yet played her first match at the event, generating crowds that require safety planning considerations. And yet here we are, in Indian Wells, before a single second-round match has been played, having that exact conversation. The fan who spoke to reporters at Practice Court 6 on Monday gave the most concise and devastating summary of what this all means. He said he had been coming to this tournament for 10 years. A decade. Driving down from Los Angeles, 2 hours each way, attending the BNP Paribas Open as a dedicated supporter of professional tennis, watching matches featuring the best players in the world for 10 consecutive years. And this was the first year, in 10 years of attendance, that he had a Filipino player to cheer for. He said it simply, "Finally, we have a Filipino here." Another fan put it even more directly. They come every year. This year they came because she is here too. Win or lose. And then they said 4 words that are worth repeating because they contain more emotional weight than any match score could carry. We are in this together. That is not a fan base. That is a community arriving at a moment they have been waiting their entire lives to experience. The Manila Times confirmed that the scenes at Indian Wells are consistent with what has been happening all year at every tournament she has entered. In Australia, the queues for her matches at the Australian Open stretched back toward Rod Laver Arena. In Dubai, a veteran referee who has been on court for Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, and Agassi told the Khaleej Times that the demand for her match tickets was crazy, with messages arriving on his phone non-stop from people desperate to get inside. In Abu Dhabi, the atmosphere was described as unlike anything the tournament had produced before. And now in Indian Wells, practice court capacity has been exceeded before the main draw begins. The tournament's own communications team is writing feature articles about a player's warm-up sessions, and a former ATP professional with a decade of experience competing at this level is raising safety concerns in a broadcast. The scale of what is happening is not getting smaller as the season progresses. It is getting bigger, and it is getting bigger faster than the infrastructure of professional tennis was designed to accommodate. Now let us talk about the tennis itself, because EALA did not travel to the California desert for the fan scenes and the selfie requests and the Nike headquarters visit in Oregon, as magnificent as all of those things are. She traveled here to compete and to win matches at a tournament she has never played before, and the stakes attached to this specific tournament run are significant in ways that go well beyond the atmosphere. The BNP Paribas Open offers 1,000 WTA ranking points to the champion. It runs through March 15th. And critically, it immediately precedes the Miami Open, which begins on March 17th and which is where EALA made history last year by reaching the semifinals as a wild card, beating IGA Swiatek and Madison Keys on the way. Those Miami semifinal points, 390 of them, are approaching their 12-month expiry date. A deep run at Indian Wells this week would cushion the inevitable drop when those Miami points fall off her record and potentially push her inside the top 25 for the first time in her career. She enters seeded 31st with a first-round bye, which is itself a statement about how far she has traveled in 12 months. 1 year ago, she was ranked 137th and needed wildcards just to get into main draws. Now she is seeded at a WTA 1000 event and receives automatic advancement past the first round. Her second-round opponent will be the winner of the opening match between Ukraine's Diana Yastremska, ranked 52nd in the world, and China's Zhang Shuai, ranked 62nd after a hot recent run that saw her reach the Merida Open semifinal last week. Neither is a pushover. Yastremska has reached Grand Slam quarterfinals and has the kind of explosive groundstroke game that can dismantle anyone on a good day. Zhang has 33 WTA singles titles and more experience in this specific tournament than almost anyone in the draw. EALA has beaten Yastremska before, 6-1, 6-2 at Eastbourne last June. She has no recorded head-to-head against Zhang. The match will test different things depending on which opponent emerges from the first round. Win that match and the draw opens onto the biggest storyline of the entire tournament. Projected third-round opponent, Coco Gauff. World number 4. The American who beat EALA 6-0, 6-2 in the Dubai quarterfinals just 2 weeks ago. EALA was asked directly about Gauff this week in an interview with Filipino outlet ABS-CBN, and her answer was exactly the kind of response that makes you understand why she handles everything around her the way she does. She said Gauff has an amazing backhand, that she is very athletic, and that she was expecting a tough match in Dubai. She did not catastrophize the loss. She did not pretend it was closer than it was. She said she always learns a lot when she shares the court with Gauff and that if they meet again she wants to take those lessons and apply them. That is not the language of someone who is afraid of the rematch. That is the language of someone who has already started studying for the exam. She has also already been on the practice court with players who rank significantly higher than either of her potential second-round opponents. The Manila Times confirmed she has already trained with Diana Schneider, ranked 20th in the world, and Madison Keys, ranked 15th. Those are not practice partners you schedule for a player who is just trying to survive the early rounds. You schedule those sessions to keep the competitive intensity and physical demand at the level the match environment will require. She is preparing for the possibility of going deep, not just getting through one round. The Nike headquarters visit in Oregon, which preceded her California arrival and which has been covered extensively in the context of the commercial partnership, deserves one more moment of attention here because of what it reveals about the institutional framework around EALA's development. Nike did not treat her visit as a routine sponsor obligation. They lined the walls with posters of her career milestones. They displayed her Sagittarius-inspired shirt, a design rooted specifically in her Filipino cultural identity as one of the centerpiece artifacts of the visit. They displayed the shoes. They walked her through the entire narrative of what her rise has meant to the brand and to the story they are actively trying to tell about the future of tennis globally. She recreated her celebration from the moment she beat IGA Swiatek in Miami. And Nike, a brand that has partnered with every major name in professional tennis over the past 4 decades, chose to embed her Filipino identity not as a footnote but as the actual foundation of the narrative they are building around her. That is not just a commercial decision. That is a strategic declaration about where the sport's next billion fans are coming from. And the answer, according to both the attendance data at every tournament she has entered in 2026 and the calculations being made in the offices of the most powerful athletic brand on earth, is Southeast Asia, led by one 20-year-old from Quezon City who signed selfies for every single person who waited for her after her Monday practice session. Manny Pacquiao said watching her filled him with national pride, that she carries the Philippine flag in a way that resonates. She pushed back on the comparison with characteristic humility, saying he is on a completely different level and that she has a long way to go before any comparison to him makes sense. That kind of answer is the one that makes people trust her and love her even more, because it comes from a place of genuine self-awareness rather than performed modesty. The foundation is real. The progress is real. And the fans who drove 2 hours from Los Angeles to watch her hit ground strokes on practice court 6 on a Monday morning know something that the rankings do not yet fully reflect. This is just the beginning. And they have been waiting 10 years for it to start. Drop everything you are doing right now and tell us in the comments what you think happens this week. Does EALA get through her second-round match and set up the Goff rematch the entire tennis world is already circling on the calendar? Does she go further than that, into the quarterfinals, into the semis, into the final of the 5th Grand Slam? And did Christopher Eubanks raising safety concerns at a practice session tell you more about the scale of what is happening around Alex EALA than any stat or ranking ever could? Smash that like button if you believe this is the week the world stops treating this as an emerging story and starts treating it as the defining story of women's tennis in 2026. Subscribe to this channel right now because we are covering every match, every crowd moment, every roar from those California stands in real time, every single day through March 15th. Share this with every Filipino fan you know, because the practice courts are already full and the matches have not even started. The EALA effect is real. It is growing. And Indian Wells has absolutely